Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Steve Kenyon Podcast. I'm Steve Kenyon. We've got an extra episode for you this week. I'm coming to you from Fallon, Nevada, where the 4th annual BattleBorn Broncs, bareback riding and saddle bronc riding, 30 of the best in the world in each event, will be competing this weekend. You can watch the action live on the Cowgirl channel Saturday night, but this has become something bigger than just a bronc match. It's also become an educational opportunity, meet and greet opportunity for young cowboys and cowgirls trying to get into college, for example, to have a chance to hear from some of the best in the world. On today's show, we'll talk to Darcy Sparrow. She is the organizer of BattleBorn Broncs. Logan Corbett, who's a bareback rider, college rodeo coach, and now involved in Champion Fitness. They're here to help to lend their expertise to BattleBorn Broncs. You'll hear from Darcy and Logan when we come back. Today's show sponsored by Wrangler, by the Justin Boot Company. Thank you to Rodeo Life Magazine and to Cubit Hay Company, online at cubithay.com, to M2 Ranch Jerky. We're awfully proud to be associated with Resistol. Next weekend, the Resistol Rookie Roundup is taking place, April 25th and 26th, Cowtown Coliseum in Fort Worth, Texas. Equinity, online at teamequinity.com. It is all about the horse. The Gooding Pro Rodeo, Gooding, Idaho, Gooding County Fair is getting ready to celebrate its 100th anniversary in the month of August by the Grand View at Las Vegas, the place we stay during the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. Our featured interviews brought to you by Classic Rope. Success is in your hand, and by Classic Equine. Play to win. We are Classic Equine. We're going to take a timeout, come back with Darcy Sparrow and Logan Corbett.
There's no pretending to being a cowboy. Either you are or you aren't. Which is why everything we do as a company improves or preserves this way of life. The romance, the honesty, the toughness, the craft. More cowboys, please. America could use them. Resistol. We live it every day.
Some of the country's best cowboys have fallen in love with M2 Ranch Jerky. Bull rider Justin Houston, TJ Gray, he says at M2 Ranch, they understand the Western way of life. Now we've got more ways for you to find M2 Ranch Jerky. Order yours on Amazon. Choose from our chef-tested seasonings in beef, elk, venison, and buffalo. Find us at m2-ranch.com. And now you can find us on Amazon. Great stores all over the country are adding M2 Ranch Jerky. You can order yours on Amazon or at m2ranch.com. This weekend I get to go to, I say this about every single event I announce, but I get to go to one of my favorite events to be a part of this weekend. In Fallon, Nevada, BattleBorn Broncs. It's in its 4th year. This is the top 30 bareback riders and saddle bronc riders, for the most part, that you'll find in professional rodeo. The lady joining me is Darcy Sparrow, who's a dear friend, BattleBorn Boot Company, and the producer of BattleBorn Broncs. And Darcy joins us. Darcy, welcome. Does it seem like it's been 4 years since you started this thing?
It's been a little bit of a whirlwind, hasn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I sometimes it feels like it was 4 years ago, and sometimes it feels like it was just, last year that we started this whole thing.
Well, you made changes. You used to be the Tuesday night before the Reno Rodeo, and this year you're moving it to a Saturday night in April. It sounds like the community's responding. It sounds like tickets are selling and everything's ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it being on a weekend finally. It was, we had challenges getting it moved to a weekend, but I'm so glad that it worked out. This year it happens to be on Easter weekend, and which hasn't seemed to slow anybody down. There's also a high school rodeo in the outdoor arena, so it's just going to be a really fun, good weekend.
So you got bronc riding on Saturday night, and I want to talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about what you're doing on Friday. Okay. And we talked about this a little bit on the Cowboy Channel on Western Sports Roundup earlier this week, but Friday is a big deal to you. Obviously, the Saturday night is the crowning achievement of the weekend, but the things you do on that Friday, you put together a camp, a clinic, a college recruiting moment. Casey Field and Luke Branquino are going to be there. They'll have a chance to address a bunch of young people. I think it's going to be one of your best days ever. You got a whole bunch of vendors that'll be open all day on Friday. Tell me, I'm babbling. You tell me about Friday and what we need to know.
Well, I'll probably babble too. I get excited about it. But when we first started doing the camp, it was just a day in the middle of summer, and it was just the camp, right? So I didn't realize until after that first or second year, people want to be around for the camp. Parents and, families were hanging out. And I thought, gosh, I guess that would be a great opportunity for our vendors to, expand the shopping days and give them something to do while the kids are in the camp. We've always had a welcome party the night before, but the Grid, who's a great sponsor of ours, we kind of outgrew that. So every year it's sort of evolved in a lot of different ways. And this year, and in talking with Jesse Segura, who runs the arena here, we kind of came up with some new ideas. And he loves college rodeo, and has a big background in the college rodeo scene as a coach and a all-around champion in college, and has a bunch of great friends that still coach. So, he wanted, because the high school rodeo is outside during our event, we thought, what better way to finally expand our camp, right? And to open it up to all the events, and expand it that way. Also expand it as far as bringing in, all the events, and then also Jesse has, the connections with Ben Londo from Cal Poly, Luke, and, bringing Casey in. That was kind of his idea. He wanted to do the recruiting event. We opened it up to all the events. But my favorite part, a couple years ago, I just remember Mitch Pollock having a really good talk with all the kids. And that was kind of part of the magic to me. And I always think, anytime you're around athletes or people that are the best at what they do, you can learn so much from that. And so I thought that last year we kind of did more of a talk with Logan from Champion Living Fitness, and we had Cody Custer, and we had some people speak. And I think that there's a lot of aha moments in those talks. And so this year we thought we'll call it the Building Champions talk, and we'll have Luke and Casey and all of them. Anyway, I'm babbling, but
yeah, no, it's really a good concept, and it's a little bit different this year. It's tougher for you to get. I remember sitting around watching wide-eyed 12-year-old wannabe bronc riders listen to Stetson Wright talk, and they're going to listen to, they're going to hang on every word that he says. But it's a little bit tougher now because you've got a bunch of rodeo contestants scattered all over the country, particularly in Red Bluff on Friday, and then you're putting this on Saturday. But having Luke and Casey there, having Luke Branquino and Casey Field there, Logan Corbett, who's going to join us in a minute. Ben Londo is a great college rodeo coach. He was a great rodeo contestant. Those guys are going to have a lot to share with these kids that are there. And speaking of Logan Corbett, right on cue, there he is. Those guys are going to have a lot to share with these kids.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite events that I get to come to all year. So it's a great opportunity to, especially with the all-star cast, as you guys have already talked about, I'm sure, that are going to be here with Luke and Casey and Ben Londo, like you were just saying. It's really an opportunity for these guys these young people that come in to see what it takes to get to the next level, and to not just be rodeo cowboys, but to also be rodeo athletes.
Yeah. Logan, by the way, for those of you who don't know Logan Corbett or who don't remember him, he is one of the coaches at Champion Living Fitness, was a very, very, very good bareback rider. Hung up his spurs, went on to coach. Do you still coach college rodeo, Logan, or are you focused just on Champion?
No, sir, I don't. I did a 4-year stint. My time as a college rodeo coach. No, I coached at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico, from 2016 to 2020, and during that time was rodeoing, as you just mentioned, and had a couple good years while coaching. And my wife and I thought, what would happen if I didn't have college rodeos? I had to go to recruiting events, and I could just rodeo full time. So in 2020, we took the leap, and we all know what happened in 2020 with COVID. And I quit my full time job to rodeo. There were no rodeos.
Nice timing, Logan. That was really, really good.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Oh man, for sure.
Yeah. So talk to me about what you're going to be doing. Darcy and I were just talking about Friday here at BattleBorn Bronx. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so I'm kind of here to try to help organize all the instructors for all across all the different events. But really what Champion Living Fitness is going to bring to the table is I'm planning on giving these guys some appropriate tools to put in their tool belt on how to warm up properly, or some mobility sessions. Rodeo is typically, generally speaking, 60 years behind. In the 1960s, professional football players and college football players, they didn't lift weights because it was going to make them slow and bulky. Well, we see how that worked out for them.
Yeah.
Here we are in 2025, professional rodeo athletes don't lift weights because it's going to make them slow and bulky. And so we're just behind the times on a lot of our things because it's been monkey see, monkey do. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but we always look to the group of guys ahead of us, and we're saying whatever they're doing is working. And up to this point, we've seen so many guys that are successful in spite of maybe not doing things as far as their physical preparation is concerned to the best of their ability. And so that's one of the things that it's getting better every year. It's getting better. But what we want to do with Champion Living Fitness, the goal is to help the sport of rodeo continue to evolve to where we never want to lose our Western heritage, but we also want these guys, especially the young people, to understand themselves as an athlete, and that proper preparation, proper warm-ups and cool downs after competition can extend their career.
Logan, and Darcy, I'm going to get back to you here in just a minute, but a couple of questions about just in general rodeo athletes and conditioning. Question number one, especially when we get into the heat of the summer, it's a challenge for guys to, and you've lived this, to be, making the all-night drive from, I don't know, Cheyenne to Deadwood or something, and to try to maintain all that conditioning in the process. They guys are spending as much time in the car as they are, standing up on their feet doing things. And so I don't know if you ever have a chance to talk to rodeo athletes about all of that. Talk about that a little bit. And then my second half of the question is this. It seems to me that when I show up at a rodeo and I'm an announcer and I'm headed up to the announcer stand and I walk by all the bareback riders and the saddle bronc riders and the bull riders back in basically what is the locker room behind the bucking chutes, they're all stretching, and it makes me want to say, ouch. I see some 21-year-old bareback rider standing there with his spur up on the top rail of the fence while his other foot's on the ground. And I'm like, how in the world do you do that? It seems to me like the guys are a lot more physically fitness conscious than they used to be. Am I right in saying that? I know I threw a lot in there right there, but go ahead.
Yes, no, you're absolutely correct in that it's getting to the place in which we've always wanted it to be, to where the floor really is you need to be an athlete, right? It's no longer the extra 1% that some guys do. It's kind of the basis of how you're going to get there. But some of the modes of that athletic development have been handed down from generation to generation, and they maybe weren't necessarily even backed by research in the 90s when that was started, right? And so, like your stretching example, I can nerd out, so I'm going to have to be careful. Mine might, so that I don't take you guys on a ride. But the stretching example, we actually long held stretches like that are something that we would rather save till after the rodeo, because we're cooling our central nervous system down with a long held static stretch. So one of the things that we teach is getting guys to warm their central nervous system up, prepare it for activity with dynamic movements. And so, however, I would 100% agree that the rodeo athlete's training regimen has to be individualized for their rodeo schedule and their lifestyle. And there are times like the 4th of July where it's not reasonable. They're not going to a gym. If they get an extra 30 minutes, I'd rather them spend that in bed, if we're honest, getting some good sleep, because sleep is hard to come by and it's the best thing for them in that time. So in that season of life, July and August, our workouts might look like 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day, or if some mobility work or active movement, just intentionally moving the body and trying to keep them from feeling the effects of getting on 5 or 6 bucking horses or bulls a week or more and sitting for 12 hours at a time.
Yeah, the sitting part. Everybody tells me the sitting part is the hardest thing on your body. It's not the riding the bucking horse that hurts you sometimes. It's sitting there in the car for 10 hours that
Exactly
gets
right.
to you. Darcy, you have been able to surround yourself with, I mean, think of the cast that you've got involved in all of these different events this year with Logan and with Casey Field, who's a Hall of Famer, Luke Branquino, who's a Hall of Famer, and Ben Londo, who's a great college rodeo coach. And I know there are a bunch of names that I'm forgetting, but you have been able to surround yourself with quite a cast just for what you're going to do on Friday.
Right. And it's changing by the minute. Like, we just keep getting calls, like, because, somebody's didn't make the short go someplace else, or they learned that they were going to be able to be here. So it's like, the more guys that we can get here, the better. I'm excited about it. Joe Harper's going to be back.
Yep.
Mitch will be here a little late on Friday, but he'll be back. So that's exciting. But yeah, it's our cast of characters is changing. But Cody Custer was supposed to have a camp, and then that fell through. So he's getting to come back this year too, which we're super excited about. Chad Denton. Yeah, it's going to be great. Colton Fritzlin actually lives here too, so he'll be here to help with the bull riding as well. So it's a pretty fun group we've got coming.
It's kind of a big deal for you to be on the same weekend as a high school rodeo. I can't imagine that's not going to help ticket sales and interest and excitement in the crowd, and it's going to give Darcy, it's going to give you that opportunity, and Logan is going to give you an opportunity to reach out to a bunch of teenagers and catch them when they're young, right?
I'm super excited about that part. I mean, I think about when we rodeoed, a bazillion years ago, and to have this opportunity and to listen to these guys speak, I just feel like those kids, my son's 14 and he's a golfer. He's not a rodeo kid, but he's a golfer. And I told him, I'm like, you hang out with Logan and you learn some stuff. Like, no matter, what you're going to do with your life, you're going to learn. So we're trying to pack the stands. I keep trying to tell everybody it's free on Friday morning for that hour, 9 to 10 o'clock or so. We'll have that. We're just trying to pack the stands. I mean, whether you're a parent, a kid, anybody, they're going to learn something.
Logan, you get a chance to reach out to a bunch of young people. What are you going to tell them?
Well, the goal is that if we want something different than what we've had, and what we've had is having to retire by the time you're 32 or 35, and there are some outliers. I know that's a generalization, but if we want to have something different than what we've had, we have to do something different than what we've done. And the reality is that it's got to start when they're 15, 16, 17. We want to see a Champion Living Fitness. We want to see Tom Brady's, if you will, in the professional rodeo realm. I want to see guys that are 41 years old that have prioritized their body and their health and entering smart and all those things for the last 25 years, and they're able to compete still in their prime, even as they get a little bit older. And that's the goal. If we could keep somebody, the example that I give high school kids, anybody that'll listen to me, I tell them, if we could keep you in professional rodeo for 5 more years because you've taken care of your body, and you can have a pretty good but an average year of $200,000 a year, right? That's not hitting big home runs, but that's having a pretty solid year of professional rodeo, 5 more NFR appearances. And as the money grows, who knows, but 5 more years at 200,000, that's an extra $1 million in career earnings that you'll add because you invested in yourself when you were 16 and started to take care of business then.
Yeah. Darcy, Saturday night, you got a big bronc match. You got a big bareback riding. I've been going through the list. You got a awesome bunch of horses that are going to be in town and a great bunch of cowboys. This has got the potential to be one of the best of your 4 years, I think.
I'm excited about this. So far, this is my favorite year. I mean, the combination of the kids, we're getting dialed in. Last year was our first year, Logan and I working together, and I don't know. I'm super excited about all the things. We have a band here Friday night too. Like, there's just all these little extra things, and having the vendors open and having, I don't know, it's just going to be really cool. I'm excited.
Logan, you're ready for Steve's dumb question of the interview? Here it comes.
Okay.
I'm going through this list of contestants, and I'm doing some homework, and I'm trying to, find out some things to tell the audience about who they are in real life and what they've done. And what I keep coming across is guys who were really good athletes in other sports, particularly wrestling. Why is it that Brody Kress was a high school champion wrestler? Mitch Pollock was a pretty good wrestler. there are a couple other guys whose names escape me. Athleticism is athleticism. Is it because wrestling is kind of an individual sport, and because you're into your own training regimen a lot of times? Is it because of things like you learn low center of gravity and balance and things like? What is it? Or does that is that my dumb question of the interview?
Yes, and yes. It's all of those things for sure with wrestling. Excuse me, but one of the things that's a common misconception that I really only learned a couple of years ago is that athleticism, we always want to say that it's genetic. And there is a part of it that is genetic, but in formative years, as adolescents, the activities that we do as we're toddlers, grade school, middle school, they'll determine some of the tissue makeup within your body as you grow. And so we find that athletes that they were competitive athletes in middle school, in high school, maybe even a little bit in college, and then they come to rodeo maybe even at a later age than what we would think you need to, 16, 17, 18, 19, and they get the correct fundamentals from the beginning. They have, because of their athletic development through team sports or wrestling, something of that nature, they pick it up very quickly. And we see lots of examples of that, right? I mean, we've had, Kelly Timmerman was kind of the first one that I heard of, but you've got Tim O'Connell. Tim O'Connell rode bareback horses for 4 years, was a great wrestler in high school, and then was at his first NFR. And most recently, we've had Cade Sonnier, who was a Division I baseball player, was an absolute unit of an athlete, and then decided later in his college career that I wanted to become a bareback rider. He got the correct fundamentals from the beginning, and here we are 4 years later, and look at what he's already accomplished. So the fundamentals of rodeo are nowhere near as important to success, and I say that tongue in cheek, as it is that they're getting athletic development when they're 6 and 8 and 12. If we want them to have a long career in rodeo, we really need them to be involved in other sports and developing that athleticism when they're young.
And I think about the way I asked that question. There are guys that have been. Cade Sonnier is a great example. Cade was a multi-sport athlete. Dean Thompson, who just won a world title in the bareback riding, he was a high school champion wrestler. I'm not trying to say that only wrestlers succeed in rodeo. That is obviously not the case. But it just strikes me that I see a lot of guys who had some luck in that. Darcy, I want you to talk a little bit about your schedule on Friday, your schedule on Saturday, just so everybody knows kind of what we're up to. You've got a great bunch of vendors, a bunch of businesses that are there at the Rafter 3C Arena in Fallon. You've got a full day on Friday and then a great bronc match and bareback riding on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning, I guess. So 8 o'clock Friday, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Friday, yeah.
Bear down.
What day is it? Where am I? 8 o'clock, coffee with the coaches. We'll have, I think, 5 different colleges here with coaches that can, visit with the kids that are coming in for the high school rodeo. Then we have at 9 o'clock, we have our building champions talk. With Casey, Luke, Logan, Cody Custer. Then after that, the kids that registered for the advanced part of the camp, the next level academy, they'll break up into their individual groups, whether they're team ropers or bareback riders or bull riders or whatever. And then we even have a little queen clinic. We had some queens that wanted to get together. So we have like Miss Rodeo Nevada and some other people coming to do that. So they'll split up into their groups, do those things, and then we'll come back in the afternoon. We've got some Charlie Gardner and Jess Jones are bringing some really nice practice horses for the kids to get on. So we'll actually have kind of a little mini perf and have a little bucking horse and bull riding out for the kids, and then a band. We'll have a band, Johnny Cash cover band. Then, actually, what we're going to do, I added this to our schedule too. We're going to draw our teams for our Calcutta. So there'll be a 2-man teams for our Calcutta. We'll draw those tomorrow night. And then Saturday, again, we'll open up with our vendors for a little while. The high school rodeo will be going on outside. We will close down for a little bit, open our doors at 5 for BattleBorn Bronx. All the bars, food trucks, vendors, everybody will be open. We'll do our Calcutta Trenton Montero Foundation auction, and we are doing an auction to benefit kids in Nevada rodeo, whether it's a somebody that's having a hard time or somebody that's doing good things, or however we can support kids rodeo in Nevada. And then we're doing an auction for that. And then BattleBorn Bronx starts at 8.
That's an hour earlier than or an hour later than normal,
later.
I should say, because we're giving guys an extra hour to get there from Red Bluff if they can.
Yeah, they have that 2 o'clock perf in Red Bluff, and they're actually working with us. I think Lloyd and Kim are talking together about that and making sure that the guys that are up here and there on Saturday, they'll be up in the first sections there, and so that they can hurry up and get here.
Awesome. Logan, it's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Darcy, I'm so glad that you gave me the opportunity to be alongside my great friend Scott Grover, the announcers for BattleBorn Bronx. I'm looking forward to it. This is I'm kind of excited. This is going to be I think a very entertaining weekend.
I think so too. I'm super excited about it. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Logan, I'll see you very soon.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. BattleBorn Bronx, you can go to. Darcy is very active on a bunch of social media, and occasionally she lectures me that I have a Snapchat that I never use. But you can find all kinds of BattleBorn information on social media everywhere. If you don't have tickets, the Rafter 3C Arena in Fallon, Nevada, if you can't be there, will be live on the Cowgirl Channel. Darcy, Logan, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
The 4th annual BattleBorn Bronx, Saturday night, Fallon, Nevada, and a lot of good things are happening in conjunction with BattleBorn Bronx. And again, you can watch the action on the Cowgirl Channel. Thanks to Wrangler, to the Justin Boot Company, to Resistol, to Equinity, to M2 Ranch Jerky, to Rodeo Life Magazine, to Cubit Hay Company, to the Grandview at Las Vegas, to the Gooding Pro Rodeo in Gooding, Idaho, and of course to Classic Rope and to Classic Equine. Thanks to you. I hope you'll like and subscribe to our social media sites, particularly our 8 Seconds Media Facebook page. I'm Steve Kenyon. God bless everybody. This is the Steve Kenyon Podcast.